3 minutes after the top of the hour now. While Congress wrangles over how to pass health care reform, our next guest says, guess what? He has a better idea.
So let's hear from Dr. Michael Pryce. He's the author of Anathema, America's War on Medicine, and he joins us to talk about his three-step plan to improve health care.
Good morning.
Hey, wait a minute. On Capitol Hill, they got about a 700,000-page plan floating around. You got 3 steps?
Absolutely. The government's out of control, and this is a health care plan that was actually written by a doctor and not a politician, and it addresses the problems that really exist rather than what they want you to believe.
Oh, how practical of you.
So your number one step is to get rid of repetitive medicine. I guess what you mean by that is if you go to one doctor and then you change doctors, to be able to bring everything along with you so they don't do the same stuff over.
You repeat things over and over and over and over again. There's a huge cost associated with that, and by creating a common digital uniform medical record, we can eliminate that.
Also, it goes hand in hand because a lot of doctors practice defensive medicine with the repetition, handle the liability. It seems like the whole tort reform thing was taken off the table awfully early.
Well, I don't believe in tort reform. I'd like to eliminate it. It's really only as good as who sits on the court. It's been overturned 3 times in Ohio. So with this book, I've completely rewritten how we handle liability. It's a whole new plan, and it really solves the problem.
Well, just give us an idea, because a lot of people are saying that's one of the reasons, that's one of the escalators in the cost.
Well, it starts out by the doctors having to write standards of care. We don't have any written standards of care now, so that opens up doors in the courtroom for malpractice. So what the doctors do is they write standards of care, excuse me, and then if they follow those standards of care and stay within that guideline and something goes wrong, then it's not malpractice.
Sure.
It becomes a complication or an adverse outcome. And then you develop a whole new system of compensation for the patient if they have an adverse outcome. At the end of the year, the doctors go back into conference and they look at all the standards and see which one works, where the adverse outcomes is, and they try then to change the standard of care to make things better.
That's a good idea.
All right, step number 3, everybody on the same plan. What do you mean by that?
Well, essentially what we want to do is we want to bring everybody, including entitlements, onto the same plan. That gives us a 300 million person actuary table. And if you talk to any insurance people, they'll tell you the best way to cut costs is to get everybody on the plan. And so we do this by creating a new system of health care whereby we get rid of all these small insurance companies and we bring in a bidding process. The government will then initiate a bidding process similar to what we do with an aircraft carrier or something. Sure. And only 3 companies will be allowed to do that. And so then they have to compete against each other for 300 million policies. They don't get to set prices, and their prices are actually capped. So we have a 0 to 7% buffer there. If they go above 7%, we lower costs. We lower their premiums. If we go below that, you spread the cost over 300 million people.
I'm sorry, you've made it way too easy.
Yeah, and by the way, thank you for sending me the old-fashioned doctor's bag. This was a blast from the past, and I appreciate it.
Well,
thanks very much, Dr. Michael Pryce. I know it took you a long time to get to New York, but we appreciate you being on the show today.
Thank you very much.
Job well done.
Coming up on the show.